Well, you're already the most awarded artist in Christian music, and you're going to get to add a few more things to your resume from these past few weeks. The most recent happened Saturday night when Ricky Skaggs invites you to join the Grand Ole Opry. You play
I
the
know.
Opry so many times over these years, but on Saturday when you got there, did you notice anything different to make you feel like something might be up? Were there some extra label
Abs-
people and family members in the house?
Absolutely nothing different, which is what's crazy about it is that I have this radar, that if something's cooking, I usually can smell it, like something's up here. And it's been a conversation. I played the Grand Ole Opry the first time when I was 19 years old. I was working at Opryland, USA, in Nashville. We used to have an amusement park built right around the Grand Ole Opry with, roller coasters and rides, but mainly it was known for the live music shows. And I was in a country music show. A lot of people have heard me talk about this over the years. I was in a show called Country Music USA, and we would dress up like the stars of the Grand Ole Opry. And I was 19. It was my first kind of professional music job gig, and I got a call one day that I'd been invited to come sing on the Grand Ole Opry, and that was something they would do on occasion with the kids in the park, and they called us the stars of the future or whatever. We have some stars of the future. And it was kind of a way to advertise the park and hey, go hear these people out there. They're pretty good. And so I went on the Opry, blown away, couldn't believe it. I was 19. I grew up listening to the Grand Ole Opry with my dad. When the weather was just right, the signal would reach Kentucky where I grew up, and you could hear WSM radio, and we'd listen to the Grand Ole Opry. That was my dad's dream, to someday be on the Grand Ole Opry. He would sit in the parking lot at the Ryman Auditorium when he'd come to Nashville from Kentucky to try to get his music heard. And he couldn't afford a ticket, but he would listen to the Opry because they'd open the windows. They didn't have AC back in those days at Ryman Auditorium. And so there's just a lot of real very special things about the Opry to me, even as a kid, and connected me with my dad and the music my dad loved and that I grew to love. And so you know, I had been playing the Opry as many times as they would let me, just because it's such a cool stage to get to play on. And there had been conversation about me maybe being asked to join the Opry family and become an official Grand Ole Opry member, which is a very, very cool honor. And the history of that is amazing if you look at the people that are on that list. And really, no Christian music artist have ever been, invited into that circle, so to speak. And yet, because my history is so deep there had been conversation like, man, it would make sense to have Steven someday, be a member of the Opry. But, that's usually something after you've played it for many, many years. So I had no clue. I didn't know it was coming. And when Ricky Skaggs came out on stage and told me they had found a picture of me performing back when I was a kid on the Opry, and they wanted to give me that picture as a memento. I was like, man, what a cool thing. But I still didn't see it coming. And then he said, this will look great beside the other picture we're going to take of you becoming the newest member of the Grand Ole Opry. I was like, you're kidding me. You are kidding, right? It was amazing. It was such a cool moment.
Was this one of the days where they kind of like hid Ricky Skaggs in a dressing room back there? Or did you get to see him before you guys actually went out on
No,
stage?
so it's very common, for me to play the Opry the same night that Ricky's going to be there, because the way the Opry works, if you don't know anything about it, it happens every Friday and Saturday night and Tuesday night, um, very regularly every week, and there are always about six artists, five or six artists, and it's new artists. It's Ricky Skaggs, Vince Gill, artists that have been around forever, Carrie Underwood, Brad Paisley. I mean, those kind of artists, and then brand new artists, and then older artists that have been around, like Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin brothers, and those kind of folks. And so it's a mixture of all of that. So Ricky and I have played the Opry together many times. You do about three songs, and then it's the next artist comes out and does his thing, and it's a very cool family atmosphere. So, and it's real casual. It's a radio show. So they're kind of talking and there's banter back and forth. So everybody just, wanders through each other's dressing rooms and says hello and hugs each other. And hey, it's like a homecoming every time you go. And so I hadn't seen Ricky that night, though. I knew I was going to see him later. I figured I'll see him after he plays and after I play, because he was going to follow me. And so, yeah, it wasn't uncommon, to see him on stage. Nothing about that tipped me off that something was coming.
Yeah, so it sounds like he might have been in hiding that night just so he didn't accidentally ruin the surprise.
Well, it might have been, yeah, because I didn't see him at all until we were on stage. And usually either he or I will see each other. So yeah, that probably was good. And it was very good that my wife didn't know, which is very unusual because usually she would have been told, because if she hadn't been there when this happened, it's been a dream of hers more probably than it has been for me, me for myself. It's been one of her bucket lists for me that I would get invited to and being inducted in the Grand Ole Opry. Um, so she almost didn't come. She had a headache and she was like, she doesn't come every time I play. It's kind of I do it quite a bit. So she's like, nah, you go tonight and just come home when you're done and whatever. And so she on sort of last minute said, yeah, I'll go, and there's some friends coming I want to see and we'll go to dinner. And so she came. She had no idea because if she'd known, I think it would have tipped me off. I would have seen it in her eyes. I would have seen a little something going like, yeah, I'm gonna go for sure. So she was as surprised as I was because she didn't know until right before they announced it. Because she was sitting in my dressing room. She wasn't going to come out and watch. She was just
Oh,
going to
wow.
watch there's a TV backstage and you can watch it in the dressing room. She's like, I'll just sit back here, and watch it. And my manager came to the door and said, you need to go watch this on the side stage. And she's like, I'm fine. I'll just sit back here. It's like, no, you need to come stand on the side of stage. And she was like, okay. So yeah, it's pretty great.
Have they given you any idea of when the actual induction date's going to be?
We were just talking about that this morning. Probably sometime in October or November, somewhere around there. It'll be in the fall. So
Yeah.
we'll keep you guys posted. Yeah, it'll be a very fun special night.